Okay.
Here we go.
For the people that haven't been watching, because we started and I forgot to press record.
And then I forgot to press
And then
record.
the second time we got going, then Nick forgot to press record. We have all the cameras going, all the audio's going. We're going. We switched up the setup. That's what did it.
Yeah,
it got us all messed up.
Yeah.
It got it all messed up.
Yeah, we did a big major setup
Overhaul,
switch today.
All because I wanted to be able to go like this. I just wanted to do a bald eagle noise.
And that's really, really loud in headphones.
I know. I like it. But, and, you know, little grunt noise in there. Or, little thwack.
Thwack.
That's original audio, by the way. I'm pretty stoked about that. That's a turkey at less than 5 yards from a ground blind. Carrying on.
Yep.
But, third time's a charm. Ozonics Killerwinds podcast. I'm Cole Tanner.
I'm excited.
For the third time, our special guest, Zach Rinn from Southeast Minnesota. I feel like I can have this whole part of the conversation in my sleep.
Probably.
Yeah. But it is what it is.
What do you do?
Here you are. Sometimes you just have to adapt and overcome. That's what we're doing.
That's exactly what we're doing.
So today we're talking about Rut Report.
Yep.
So we're in North Iowa. Zach Rinn is in Southeast Minnesota. You know, this isn't trying to say what's happening all around the country, because this is just, but I think it's important to know what's happening around here.
Yeah.
You know, I know for me, I'm always jumping on my cell phone, looking on social media, you know, and if guys are starting to, you know, knock stuff down, they're definitely posting it. And I feel like we've definitely seen an uptick in this last week where everybody kind of felt like they were talking about this October lull and man, it's just so I'm not seeing nothing.
Yeah.
You know, and that warm weather and everything else. Then all of a sudden, the end of last week, it broke cold all throughout the Midwest.
Yeah.
And it just felt like that was the spark that we needed.
Yeah.
And there's been a bunch of deer hitting the ground.
Yeah.
You know, your good buddy Owen at Midwest Whitetail, he shot
a
buck of a lifetime and then another great buck.
Yeah.
You know?
I think it was only a second set after he shot that other one.
Yeah. And then Mike Reed shot
one. Zach Rosmans. The Midwest Whitetail guys have been just tearing it up right now.
Yeah, they've been hammering them.
Yeah.
Yeah, it's great.
Yeah, and then at home, my number one, my neighbor shot him. And then my number two got hit by a car yesterday, actually.
Zach, listen to this. He had it on camera at like 5:45, and he got hit on the road at 6
in the morning. Yeah.
Oh, no.
Yeah, the farmer. And it sucks, too, because...
I don't mean to laugh. I'm not laughing it's funny. But you had like 4 years of history with that buck?
Yeah, I think this was our fourth year that we had him on camera.
Dude.
I wanted to kill him so bad.
Yeah, that's such a sad...
Yeah, I was super excited, too, because I had a ton of pictures of him all throughout summer into, well into September. And then he just disappeared all of October. I don't think I had a single picture of him in October.
Yeah.
And actually, no, obviously, yeah, I did because he showed up again last week on like Tuesday, and he was pretty consistent again. And then just like that story's done with.
Well, I'll tell you what, it's sad to say, but, I joked with you about this the other day. There's a correlation between when the rut's happening and deer getting hit on the road.
Oh, 100%.
Dude, my father-in-law, every year, he'll call me.
Yeah.
Because he does a lot of driving with his job. He works for a wind turbine company. And he'll call me in the spring and the fall, and he'll be like, well, must be happening. I'm like, he's like, man, I'm seeing deer everywhere. Or I'm seeing turkey everywhere in the spring.
Yeah, yep.
And, that buck got hit. Unfortunately, Zach's wife.
I laugh because I'm currently dealing with the situation.
Literally, as we speak, he had to delay for us because he had to talk to State Farm talk about the insurance part of it. So how bad are we talking about? Are we talking just like a bumper? Are we talking like totaled? Or what are we talking about?
Oh, no, my wife was on her way home from the city, so she was doing a cool 70 up there kind of by Cannon Falls.
So that deer became a meat missile.
Oh, yes. She said it popped out of the center, and she smoked it. Like, she said I had a chance to tap on my brakes, and that's about it. She said if I would have tried to swerve, it could have gone anywhere. And in that stretch, like, if you swerve, I mean, you could be in the weeds or whatever. So I said, there's nothing you can do about it at this point. Like, you just smoked it and wrinkled up the hood, everything, radiator's back. They're probably going to total it and that kind of thing. So, yeah. Especially when the vehicle's paid off, you get to deal with all that kind of fun stuff.
Oh, dude!
You find a minivan driven by grandparents, and you get this just mint unit, and then poof, she's gone.
It's funny that I don't know how it works out that way. That's almost exactly what happened to my wife Tatum about the whole, we had a car for the longest time. We just got it paid off. We're like, no car payment. We're all excited. We're high-fiving. We're like, yeah. She got in a car accident like 3 weeks later.
Jeez.
Literally 3 weeks later, driving home from work one day, just pure accident.
Yeah.
She just like, all of a sudden everybody stopped. There was road construction. They nicked it down to one lane. It was like the first day that nobody really knew about it. She was just doing her thing and hits the rear end and somebody totaled the car. God. I was like, we didn't have a car payment for 3 weeks. It was like 1 month without a car payment. Yeah. You're like, golly. But yeah, Zach.
Maybe I should buy it back and put a Hemi in it.
There you go.
Yeah,
it's
isn't that funny?
My dream is to put a.
That's one thing I wish I was better at. I am not mechanically inclined. I just wish I was.
Me neither.
I wish I had.
But I think a Hellcat in a minivan would be awesome.
Yeah.
Because it would be.
Yeah, it would be awesome. All right, Zach, so let's get into it.
Back to the topic.
Yeah, so let's get into it. So, Zach, you've got a buck that you've been chasing, and you actually had a pretty killer encounter with him. Tell us the kind of skinny about what you've been experiencing over these last couple of weeks with that deer specifically, and then let's get into kind of what you're seeing in how the deer are running in your area.
Yeah, so this year, we usually had a couple slammers on the farm, and this year it's not as many. So I thought we'd get some new slammers because all the other ones have been killed off by ourselves or neighbors. Trail cameras were slow all summer long, and then in the fall, once they started getting hardhorn, this buck showed up. It's a big 9-pointer. It's a typical. It's genetics on the farm. I mean, he's the offspring to this buck that I've been chasing called Ripslinger, and the neighbor killed a while ago. But you can see the characteristics of it. So, anyways, yeah, we were warm, and I will say right now I'm pushing pretty heavily because in Minnesota our gun season starts Saturday, which it would have already started when you listen to this. But so usually that first week in November or that last week in October, I hunt pretty hard, or I push quite a bit because all the neighbors gun hunt that first season, so there's a lot more people in the woods chasing these deer.
Well, it's like if there's a definition of now or never, it's now or never.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah, for what you're trying to do.
Yeah, and like I was talking to my uncle who I hunt with, and it's one of those things too. We have a lot of food, so we'll have a lot of food for the winter. Mm-hmm. So I think we'll be able to draw some deer in, and maybe just not local deer. So I'm still pushing to try to kill this buck because I want to kill this buck and not have to sit in the cold. But I enjoy that as well. Anyways, regardless, we had a warm front, and then Monday everything started to happen. I sat, still seeing does, still seeing fawns with their moms and that kind of thing. Mm-hmm. Then I sat on this one point on Monday night. I think I had a doe with triplets come in, and then I had 2 does with their fawns, or one had whatever, and then a small buck come through. And then I kind of they spotted me. I'm in a bad spot. I didn't get winded, but I got kind of picked off on the horizon or silhouette in the tree. Mm-hmm. So they kind of blew. I thought the gig was up. I have 15 minutes left. I'm going to get down. Sometimes I sit and I wrestle with, do you make something happen or wait for something to happen? Yeah. So this time I'm like, I'm not going to bust anything else. I got down on the tree, and then from where there's about 40 to 50 yards of CRP from the tree to where I'm at, and then a big bean field because my uncle still has all of his beans and corn in. So I got up into that bean field, and like I said, there's probably 10 minutes of light left, and there was my number one was coming over the hill, and I could just see him silhouetted, and he was sidestepping another, maybe a 3.5-year-old 10-pointer. So I'm like, okay, maybe we can get something to happen here. So I kind of creeped along, and the wind was just perfect in my face. So I kind of creeped along the side, thinking maybe I could pull him down there, or slide up enough just to get a shot. I didn't, so I kind of backed out, and they went over the hill naturally. So I'm like, okay, we're safe here. The next morning was Halloween morning. I slept in late, so I woke up. I didn't get out there before light. I was there before sunrise. As I was walking out, there was a pretty good buck in the field with a doe, and then it was kind of funny because there was this one buck with the doe, and then there were 3 other bucks, maybe 2.5-year-old, 3.5-year-old, all kind of like hanging around in this nosebleed section. It was like that's kind of a correlation of what the rut is. You got the male dominant over here, and then you got these 3 little ones trying to pick up the table scraps. Like, hey, yeah, we're just if she gets away, we'll help you. We'll chase her and make sure. So, anyways, I get into the tree. I didn't see anything. Well, I shouldn't say that. There was a doe. And I was sitting kind of in a bedding area thinking I'd get a few more cruising there because the night before, my uncle's son-in-law sat there and said he had like 8 different bucks cruise through there, none of which were this big one. So I thought, okay, yeah, they're going to be cruising through this bedding area. I saw nothing, got down, came to work, have kids, so Halloween night is usually out for me, so I didn't hunt Halloween night. Mm-hmm. Last night I sat, yesterday morning. Yesterday morning. Is it yesterday morning? I'm getting my days mixed.
I know. It's all blurred together.
Yeah, so it was last night. Today is Thursday. Last night, Wednesday night, I went out there and I sat in that same tree stand where Michael sat, where he was seeing all those bucks. And I thought, well, maybe he's coming from here. Now, I don't have this big one quite figured out. What rub line, what scrape line he's using. Mm-hmm. I've got him on scrapes and I've got him all like dotting the scrapes. I just can't tell where he's starting, right? Obviously, if we knew, we would know where he's starting and we'd kill him. So That's my biggest struggle with these cameras is I'm trying to figure out where he is starting from and I can't figure it out. So I went to the one side of the farm thinking, okay, I've got the most pictures and he was hanging by this scrape. Like he went to the scrape at 10 o'clock. He was gone. He came back at 11 o'clock. He was gone. He came back at 1 o'clock. So I thought, well, maybe there's a reason he's checking this scrape so much. So I went to that one. I didn't see him. I had a doe bed down right next to me, and then I didn't hardly see any other deer. So, again, wrestling with myself because I know that deer has been in the beans right above where I'm at. The wind was in my face, so I got down early from my tree stand again and zipped through the CRP, and I could see him. It was actually really sweet, and I wish I would have had one of those, like a camera guy, and I didn't. I was trying to kill this deer instead of film.
Where
but
were
now
you, Nick?
thinking like hindsight, I should have filmed because the sky was like orange.
Yeah.
Because the sun was down and the sky was just this orange pink look, and he was up there, and he's a tall deer, and it looked really cool. Anyways, he had 2 does up there. And he was up there, and then there was another small buck. So I'm like, well, let's see if we can make something happen. So I hit the horns. I started a fight down there in the CRP. And, of course, like it always happens, the small buck comes just on a beeline. And I'm like, you're the wrong one that's supposed to be doing this. But so he came, and he got to about 30 yards. And I'm hunched down in the CRP. I got good back cover. I'm not worried about anything. Well, he must have sensed something was not right. So he just kind of went over the hill on the other side. Meanwhile, this buck he would kind of work his way towards me, but then he would go back over the knoll. So he went back over the knoll. I had about 5 minutes left. I'm like, I'm gonna make a move and see if I can't just get around the corner and then get to him over the knoll and if he's there. So I start going, and then my phone rings. Kayla's calling me. And she knows I'm hunting. I'm like, why is she calling me? So I hit silence, and then 30 seconds later she calls back. It's like, so we've got this thing that if she calls back to back, it's something that you need to answer your phone for because she knows you're hunting.
Yeah.
Right? She calls me, I hit a deer. Okay, so you hit a deer.
You're like, and that's
and then
it.
I'm kind of like, yeah, it's just like, okay, I'm here. We're going to have to deal with that. I'll just stop, and I backed out, and I went around the bottom of the field, hoping that they wouldn't, I wouldn't bust them or anything, and I don't think I did just because I went the long way out. So, yeah, and then I sat up in there this morning. There's a lot of good sign, but I didn't see him or a doe, just some other does. Mm-hmm. And then sitting in that tree stand, I'm just thinking of how I'm going to sit tonight to see that bean field if I have to get out, or where do I think he's coming from, because I sat in the other 2 spots where I thought he was coming and he didn't. And then, now this one. Now I'm sitting in this stand. I'm sitting in this stand tonight. I left my camera arm up there on purpose so I don't change my mind because I am one of those people. I am one of those people that I will go out there. So actually, that night I was going to sit in this stand where I think he came out of. But I get out there and I'm like, oh, man, I don't know. The wind was just a little off of where I want it.
Yeah.
And so, I mean, and I've got the Ozonic, so I'm playing like I'm not overly cautious, but I just wanted to make sure and cut it a little bit more. And so I'm out there and I got my phone sitting in my pocket. It's like, all right, screen up, I sit in this stand. Screen down, I sit over here. So then you flip it like this and you catch your phone because I didn't have a quarter, so you catch it.
You just gotta,
all right, 2 out of 3.
You could just ask your phone, hey Siri, flip a coin. It'll flip it for you. Nick and I do that all the time.
Yeah, well, I like to try to catch it, and I like to do that.
See, I would drop my phone straight in the mud or something. That's what I would do. Right on the charger part. You know what I mean?
Yeah. So I landed phone down. Needless to say, I sat over there. Needless to say, it was not in the cards for me to harvest that deer last night because I had to take care of some other situations of my wife, who is a non-hunter, harvesting a doe with our beloved beige minivan.
X sounds like X beige minivan now.
yes. But I will say things have ramped up. And what I've seen, even I had to run to Winona and do a couple errands, and just on the hillside, even at not like daybreak, but the 9 o'clock, 10 o'clock time frame, I saw a buck out in the field. Just he didn't want the doe to get back up into the woods. He had her corralled, and then you go through the town, you go through another, and there's a big hay field, and you got 2 bucks in there. You can see just off to the side. It's kind of cool. I mean, it's fun to drive around and be able to see this. Like in the Blufflands in southeastern Minnesota, it's kind of hard. You don't see as much activity like that from the road as you do maybe in some of the flatter stuff or down in Iowa where there's not as big bluffs and hills that you got to deal with. But it is kind of cool just to like watch it. Like I don't know. I'm just a whitetail fanatic, so I like to watch that. And it's not even like killing big deer. It's just I enjoy watching the behavior and them do their thing.
Well, and it's funny because I think that's so true because there's a good 11 months of the year that you don't see deer act like that.
Yeah, exactly.
You kind of get used to the other part of it.
Yeah.
I mean, deer are very elusive creatures. And some of those big bucks. I mean, I was just watching a video the other day of somebody that's like, I haven't seen this buck since last fall. Found his sheds, and then all of a sudden there he is on camera. And it's just wild how they just can disappear and just find a place where they don't get bothered. But it is kind of neat when all of a sudden the rut really kicks in, and all of a sudden it's like, hey,
there they are.
There they are.
Yeah,
they're just out in the open. They're just super, super visible. But
yeah,
I definitely feel like for us too, Zach, that's what I think. Definitely seeing everything start to ramp up.
Yeah,
we kind of had that October lull. It was really warm, and then the end of last week we got a really nice cold front.
Yeah,
and you heard everybody talking about that. You know, and you could see it on camera. A bunch of deer were starting to hit the ground.
Oh yeah,
and so like last Friday night we snuck out, and we're on a spot that just have the ability to shoot some does. I have some antlerless tags.
Yeah,
and sure enough, like an hour before dark. I mean, it was
well before dark.
It was well before dark. Just an absolute cranker steps out.
Just a stud.
Yeah, and just walks right down the fence line.
Makes a couple scrapes.
Yep, checks a couple things. Yep. Walks into the woods a little bit, comes back across another opening.
Yeah.
He was just cruising.
Yep.
And he was an absolute stud.
Yeah. Yeah, and then same thing on Tuesday night, Halloween night. We had some weird things going on with our cameras. We thought that they might have been burning something because it just, I don't know, there's like a weird haze on the camera or whatever. So
yeah, it looked like smoke in the background.
Yeah, it just looked kind of weird. So after work, I ran out to this one spot, just drove around it just to see, and sure enough, same exact thing. I mean, early, probably 5:45-ish maybe, which I guess isn't too early, but it's broad daylight. I saw our second biggest buck that we got on camera out there, just in the wide open, walking all by himself. Just a beautiful deer. But then on my way home, just like Zach was saying, I mean, there was deer in like every single field, just out there. I mean, saw no big mature bucks, but I mean, there was definitely bucks on their feet for sure. And like you said, I mean, we've been seeing it on the cameras. Our scrapes are lighting up like crazy, and it's it definitely feels like it's getting to be that time for sure.
Yeah, we were talking about this before the podcast. I think as bow hunters and just as deer hunters in general, everybody's trying to figure out, where are we at in it? What should I be doing right now? Where should I be sitting right now?
Yeah.
I think for me, if you were to ask me that question, I think if you would say, is it the pre-rut, is it the rut, or is it the post-rut? For me, I feel like we're definitely in kind of the end of the pre-rut.
Yeah.
Where you're starting to not just, we're still seeing does walking around by themselves. It's not like it's the peak of the rut where it's like if you see a doe, you're going to see a buck.
Yeah.
And it's not like they're so far into the rut that like things are so unpredictable yet, know? Like you can still sit on scrapes right now and see bucks coming to a scrape, but all of a sudden when you get to the peak of the rut, you could sit on a scrape all day long and you're like, well, geez, it's a great scrape.
Yeah.
Yeah, but dude, like those bucks are on does.
They're with the does. They're not worried about the scrape so much.
Exactly. And so it's like I feel, and even for me, this last weekend, we had that snow, and I went in there in the morning or going to an afternoon sit, and all of a sudden there's just a monster scrape with not a leaf in it, not a flake of snow in it. There it is.
Yeah.
And it wasn't there before.
Yep.
And so I actually was out kind of moving a couple cameras around, just trying to get them on some of those scrapes.
Yeah.
It's not like I'm going to have them there the rest of the year.
Yeah.
But it's a good thing to try to get an idea of what's going on. But yeah, it's pretty crazy. I mean, we're definitely in that pre-rut, and it feels like sometimes that can be one of the best times to try to shoot the bucks that you're after.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's probably my favorite time to hunt for sure.
I mean, honestly, I don't feel like, I love hunting the pre-rut, but it's like when we go to the consumer shows a lot in the wintertime and we guys get walking in the booth and they, you're from Iowa? Oh man, you're from Iowa.
Yeah.
And then they, man, I drew a tag, or I'm going to draw a tag 2 years from now. When should I go?
Yeah.
I get that a lot. When should I go? When should I go? Buddy and Scott were asking, when do we go? When do we go? And for me, and I always tell people, I love November in the teens.
Yeah.
It just seems like for whatever reason, if you can get November, 13, 14, 15, 16, 17, 18, it seems like you get kind of on the other side of the rut and those bucks really start moving around.
Yep.
But we're not there yet. You know what I mean? But it feels like we're on the other side of the coin here, where it's definitely they're still out there and they're not locked down.
Yeah.
It's not like you're gonna go out there and just go do.
Right.
Hope a doe walks by with a buck.
Yeah.
Or just hope you get something chasing by. It's not like that.
Yeah.
I feel like you can get out on some of those spots and you can sit on a good scrape or a good rub line. There's a good chance that you're gonna see a buck that's out there looking for something.
Yeah, without a doubt. Yeah, and you see that in Wisconsin a lot too. We have an earlier gun season in Wisconsin. This year it's on the 18th, I believe. But it seems like in years past when I was able to hunt the Wisconsin gun season, you always feel like there is, whether it be from more pressure, more hunters or whatnot, but it seems like there's always like a little bit more movement in the bucks specifically, whether it be seeing bucks in daylight or just new bucks showing up. I mean, there's been multiple times where that kind of later teens in November, it feels like we have some bucks show back up again. Yeah. And it's just, like you said, I mean, they're just back on their feet again naturally after that rut, that major first rut hit.
Well, and I'll tell you what, I mean, everybody's got the things that they use to try to connect the pieces together. The crazy thing too is if you look at like the red moon, right? We're in a red moon right now.
Right now, yeah.
And then we're also going to be in another red moon November in the teens.
Yeah.
So it's kind of ironic, I feel like, from what I'm seeing right now, how the red moon is lining up
perfectly,
pretty stinking awesome.
Yeah.
With that pre-rut, post-rut,
Yeah.
And when you look at like DeerCast, for example, you look at like the end of last week into the first part of this week, you look at the barometric pressure, everything is just high. Everything says good. You know what I mean? And I feel like you're seeing that with guys putting deer on the ground.
Yeah, without a doubt.
Yeah.
Yeah, and I think that too. Like the temperature has been great as well for these bucks to be on their feet and moving.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yep.
Yeah,
like it's going to start to warm up here a little bit for us, but I think they'll still be moving, and it won't be nighttime activity.
Yeah, that's what I think too. I think that this little bit of a warm spell, I don't see it affecting it as much as it might be if it was mid-October or something. That's just my opinion, but
yeah, it does seem like it's just upticking a little bit, like this weekend into next week, which is kind of funny because I'm a little excited for that because, man, I have been like, Jet wants to go so bad.
Yeah, exactly.
My little boy Jet wants to go so bad. He's like, when you taking me? When you taking me? He even saw him when I texted you, you're like, you had text me like, hey, number 9 on camera. And I said something like, oh, you're going to get him tomorrow. And then he goes, what do you mean? What do you mean you're going to get him? He said that he saw my text message. So you're going hunting? He's like, and you're not taking me? So I'm like, buddy, I can't take you at 28 degrees with a 20-mile-an-hour wind.
Yeah, exactly.
Like, you're not going to last.
Yeah.
I just can't do it.
Yeah.
Right.
But if we get like this little bit warmer afternoons, I'll probably try to sneak him out.
Yeah, exactly.
And let him rattle.
Yeah.
I got some sound effects. I'm pretty excited.
Put him on
about.
the ground so he can stomp around a little bit. Too.
Yeah. Oh, I know. I have we can show that video. I have a pretty funny video, Zach. It was last year, the year before. We were sitting in this double ladder stand, and it was like a warm November day. And so I'm like, all right, Chet, let's go. And I looked at him. I said, hey, buddy, do you want to rattle? And you could just see his face light up. He was so excited, and he clanked. I've got this Nightingale. That's just what I carry. Some guys really like horns, I just like it's because they're small and it sounds good. Mm-hmm. And I let him power through that thing, and he was all loving it.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
But yeah, like Cole.
Wait till he can draw in like 100-incher that just comes on a beeline.
Man.
I love it.
Ooh.
I know. Well, he wants to shoot a buck so bad.
Yeah.
He shot a button buck during youth season, and I went to parent-teacher conferences, and he's got this book that he gets to draw pictures and write a story. So he had a moose hunt on there, then he had a sheep hunt on there, then he had his button buck story on there. And that button buck, it was borderline a spiker.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? He kind of, when in doubt, exaggerate. He kind of made those the button.
Yeah.
But he was all excited about it. Yeah.
But yeah, so Cole was, we had that number 9 buck.
So before you talk about that, the number 9 part, Zach, I don't know if you know this, but kind of the crazy thing is there's this public spot that I used to hunt years ago, and then with Nick getting here, we're trying to find a place for him to go, and so I'm like, hey, check this out. So he's got a couple cameras out, and we started numbering the bucks in chronological order when they showed up on camera.
Yeah.
What are you at now?
41.
41 bucks on 2 cameras.
2 cameras.
Yeah, 2 cameras.
About 200 yards apart.
What number is the biggest?
33.
33. Yeah, that's
by far the biggest.
That's one I want. But the funny thing is there's some, so you know him better than I do. 33 is pretty, he's the top of the pyramid.
The big ones are 9, 15, 22, 32, and 33.
And then 40 is he's probably one of the most unique.
Yeah, he's like a 2-year-old, and he's got a double main beam.
On his left side.
Yep.
It's kind of cool. Like he's got a beam that grows inside of his outer beam.
Yeah.
And then which one's the drop tine?
32.
32.
And that's the one that I saw on Tuesday night as well.
32. He's a nice deer.
Yeah.
It's not like a big old 7-inch drop tine, but it's a drop tine.
It's a decent hang tine.
Decent hang time. And then the funny thing is so he's got all these deer on camera, but they've all been at night. And I've been telling you, I'm like, well, just wait. Like, I don't really want to I think we just kind of step back here a little bit.
Yeah.
We actually hadn't hunted it until last night. That was November 1st. We hadn't hunted since October 1st.
Yeah.
Because everything was just on camera at night.
It was at night.
Yeah, we went in there on October 1st kind of as a domish and just to kind of get an idea.
Yeah.
And all of a sudden, this last week, end of the week, all of a sudden, all these bucks start daylight.
Yeah.
Number 9 was a great example.
Daylight is really daylight on Sunday morning.
Yeah. So then all of a sudden, I'm like, hey, we have a spot that it's really conducive to like a south wind.
Yeah.
But yesterday we had like a southwest wind.
Yeah.
It's kind of blowing into the bedding area, but it's right up against bedding area and in this track of timber. Like, man, let's just try it.
Yeah.
And so sure enough, it felt slow. A couple does, a couple does mingling around. And then all of a sudden at like 5:45, there walks out number 40.
Yeah, the double main beam buck.
Yep. Walks right over the scrape, does this thing, digs it out even more.
Yeah.
The scrape of all scrapes.
Yeah, it's a huge scrape.
I'm telling you, that's the biggest scrape I've ever experienced.
Oh, it's by far the biggest one I've ever seen.
It's really big. Like after season, we're gonna have to go out there with a tape measure or something and figure out how much surface area this thing actually covers. Like it's pretty incredible. Like you could probably have 2 bucks stand in it, like nose to nose.
Yeah.
And there would be room on each side.
Oh yeah. Well, the craziest thing is there's one that's just as big,
just on the way,
40 yards down the way.
Yeah. So the double main beam number 40, he comes in, he walks right on the trail by the stand, gets directly downwind, Mingle Mally's around, goes out to the west.
Yeah.
And then about that time, 5 minutes later, all of a sudden there steps out number 9.
Yeah.
So, Nick's been a trooper, right? Like he's been doing a lot of filming of me. And then, some of these spots I only have permission for me.
Yeah.
But this spot's public land, so it's like, hey, bring your bow. So that guy steps out. First thing Nick says is, can I please shoot it? So
I go, it's number 9.
It's number 9.
I'm like, are you sure? Like, are you sure you're okay with this? And you're like, yep, hand me the camera.
So we're jimmying around. I'm grabbing the camera, trying to get everything going. He gets his bow. Dude, you want to see a guy come unglued? He turned it. His nickname is Hot Mess Nick Simon, but he turned like lava hot mess. His knock turned on. His red knock was blaring. He didn't even know how that happened. I can see him up there. He's breathing heavy. He's all freaking out.
I was shaking so bad.
Dude, you were.
I haven't shook like that in a stand in a long time.
But he stepped out on the other scrape at like 100 yards. Now, when I there's so we have some good cover in that stand. I can't see very good.
Yeah.
So I couldn't see him very good there. You kind of could see a little bit better.
Yeah.
So when I saw him, he had already kind of walked off a little bit.
Yeah.
I don't think he saw us. He wasn't even looking in our direction.
No.
But he was just kind of looking. And then we could see a doe back up in there. He kind of went over there and he made another awesome scrape.
Yeah.
And then he bumped that doe. And then he came back out to the opening. I tried to doe bleed at him.
But when he came back out, he was quite a bit farther away.
Yeah.
He was way farther away.
Yep. He was like 175 yards away.
Yeah.
But he was right there. I mean, he's in there now.
Oh, yeah.
And man, there's some good bucks out there.
Yeah.
But it's that rut activity. He's right. I mean, he was right on that scrape.
Yeah.
It's one of those things where it's like, I feel like after the season, you look back and go, man, what should we have done? I feel like if you don't go back to a spot like that in the next day or two, you go, well, he was right there.
Yeah.
What were we doing?
Yeah.
It's like we're trying to figure out where he was. He's right there.
Yeah.
Exactly. So, but yeah, it's
But I
definitely.
mean, if you got 41 different bucks on camera in that spot, they're cruising through there. You must have a funnel or a pinch point that's just crazy. That
Yeah.
on the next one.
Yeah. I don't want to say too much, but it is kind of like the pinch of all pinches.
Yeah, it sets up really nice.
Yep. It's like bedding area, hardwoods, but it's funny though because you really, again, and I'm spinning this back to ozonics, right? Like we have a lot of people that will ask us, like, is ozonics 100%? And I'll say no, it's not.
Yeah.
And this spot is a perfect example of that, right? That spot gets northwest winds or west winds the way that it sets up
Constantly.
7 out of 7 days of the week, right? Since October 1st, I've been watching it.
Yeah.
We've had one day, October 1st, we had a south wind. We haven't had any east winds. We haven't had any southeast winds.
Yeah.
We had a south-southwest November 1st. We've got south winds this afternoon. We have south-southeast or east on Sunday.
Yeah.
But that spot is so conducive to a deer that can smell everything that's going on.
Yeah.
If you try to walk in there, it's going to smell you.
Yeah.
You just aren't getting in there.
No, it's.
I mean, it feels like a buck layer.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Like
it just feels like you're not getting in there without them smelling you. They're going to be long gone.
Yeah.
And so I think that's part of what sets up so good for it.
Yeah.
And I think that if you're not careful, you could very easily
You could blow that place out like it's nothing.
And maybe you're hearing this and go, well, you're being very, hypocritical because you say you hunt with ozonics and you'll just hunt the wind, you'll hunt the deer, not hunt the wind. I will, but I'm not like irresponsible.
Yeah.
I'm not going to go in there on like mid-October and just try to like blow everything out of there. And
Yeah.
I do trust my ozonics, but I'm still a realist too,
Yeah.
you know? But like last night when we have a south-southwest and I've got an advantage, but I'm still trying to push the envelope.
Yeah.
We did that because of ozonics.
Yeah, exactly.
And so, but I think that's part of what makes that spot set up so good is it's just really tricky to hunt.
Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah, and I don't think it's a coincidence that they're there.
No, exactly. Yeah, it's the entry and exit is it's just tough. It's really tough.
It's tough.
You're kind of out in the open a little bit, and like you said, the wind is just, no matter what way you come in, the wind is kind of porking you one way or the other.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah.
But
yeah, no, it's definitely, just like we said last week, it's definitely getting to be that time.
Yeah.
Yeah,
and it's funny too, like like all my buddies in Wisconsin and cousins, I mean, they're all saying the exact same thing. It's just like there's bucks on their feet, but you see a group of does and you don't see any bucks with them just yet. And it's just, I just feel like that's kind of the same thing that we're kind of seeing. I mean, I guess last night we did see that buck late, but the first group of does that come out, there was nothing with them, you know? Yeah. So it's just kind of interesting how it's kind of feels like it's the same across the board.
That's one thing I was going to say too, Zach, that I think you've experienced a little different than me is I have tried to rattle a couple times, like seeing bucks like off in the distance rattled. I was out on Saturday afternoon. No, Saturday morning. Golly, I'm getting the days all mixed up. It was Saturday morning, and I blind rattled and just nothing. You know what I mean? And, you know, everybody's got a different opinion on that. You know, I don't do that all the time, but I was like, oh, you know what? Let's try it.
Yeah.
And just nothing.
Yeah.
And I feel like we've had bucks like that buck last night. We tried to grunt at him, or even, you know, that buck on that other spot when we had the poop altercation.
Yeah.
Rattled and snort wheezed at him. Now, he came a little bit, but he didn't want to pot commit either.
That younger buck came, though.
Yeah. So it's just interesting. Do you feel like you're having luck, Zach, on trying to rattle or grunt at him or snort wheeze at him, get him to come to you? Because I feel like we haven't gotten to that point where bucks are just like throwing all you know, thoughts to the wind and they're just walking right in. You know what I mean?
I can't say one or the other, actually. Well, like, I had that one come to a rattle. So I rattled him, that younger one. But you're getting a lot of younger ones that are curious about it. I guess I like to play with, when I see a younger deer out in the field, I'll be like, let's see what a snort wheeze or a grunt does just for kicks and giggles. But, I mean, the problem on our farm is we have such a bad buck-to-doe ratio. Yep. So we have a lot of does. So I've never had a blind rattle work. I guess I've never had a blind rattle work for us, or even like a decoy. But if I see them, there's some times where you could draw them in. I've never had it work on a mature deer, just kind of the younger ones. But people are. I had a buddy that was just successful, and he said, he shot this monster, and he rattled them in, and he came right in on a string, and he shot him.
Yeah.
So, I mean, I think it's all how aggressive or, you know, what kind of ratio your farm has. I think if you have a lot of does, you don't have that kind of aggression or need to be the top dog.
Yeah, exactly.
Well, I'll tell you one thing that I think that is interesting about what we're experiencing here too is we basically have 4 spots, 2 public spots and 2 permission spots.
Yeah.
The permission spot that I hunt a lot usually, it's either 50-50. It's corn one year, beans the other. It's got corn here and beans here, or vice versa. Well, this year he's got corn on the half that's really conducive to the deer, near where the deer already want to be.
Yeah.
And for whatever reason, he just hasn't taken a lick of it out yet.
Right.
I mean, he hasn't touched those fields. They're just sitting there. And so those cameras have just been deader than a doornail.
Yeah.
Where it's just been like, man. And I feel like those deer are just in the corn.
Yeah.
Because there's just not really much else around that's still out there.
Yeah.
But the other spot where we're having all these 40 different bucks, those are some of the first cornfields that were taken.
Yeah.
And completely plowed under.
Yeah.
Where there's just really nothing for them out there.
Yeah,
you know,
exactly.
Sifting through the dirt.
Yeah.
You know,
Yeah.
And so it kind of feels like in north central Iowa, we're so fragmented, you know, with CRP and fragmented tracts of timber.
Yeah.
And the corn and all the fields give the deer a lot more area to spread out to. Well, all of a sudden now you're definitely starting to neck that down.
Yeah, the crops up here make just a substantial difference.
Yeah.
Whether they're up or down, like, especially here, just because, like you said, like, we're so fragmented. There's not so much timber, you know, so it's like once that corn comes off, like, man, corn or any crops come off, everything changes so much. Just an insane amount, more than a place where if you're hunting a lot of timber, you know.
Yep, absolutely. Well, I'm excited for you, Zach. I'm excited to hear about how the rest of the week goes, like you said.
Yeah, we'll see. Hopefully by the time you air this, I can
share a picture.
You'll have a picture of me holding the deer. Otherwise, it'll be the neighbors. Holding the deer.
Or you'll be doing tag soup.
Yeah, well, I'm quite used to that. 'Cause I like to. Yeah, I pick the biggest deer on the farm and try to chase them, but it hasn't worked out very many times.
Yeah, but it's just like I was joking with Nick last night. Even just getting to see those deer,
man. It's so cool.
Yeah, it's pretty rewarding.
Yeah,
because it's not called killing. You know what I mean? It's called hunting.
Yeah,
and that's what I think is so fun. Is it's not just about shooting them. You know what I mean? Like even last night when we were in there, it's like, man, I've hunted this spot before, so that was kind of neat to feel that again, and then like the scouting that had been done. It's like, okay, let's try to figure out where the best place to put cameras are. And then all of a sudden there you're getting them on camera, and then you sneak in there, and then it all starts to line up. Yeah. That's a really cool feeling.
Yeah, it's a lot of fun. I think that's my favorite part about hunting.
Yeah.
It's just knowing. Yeah,
and that's where I find myself wrestling with things. Like you said, it's not called killing, it's not whatever. And that's why it's not called sitting in a tree. It's hunting. That's why I get down.
Yeah, exactly.
Maybe get a little Western.
Yep.
Yeah,
maybe things get a little Western and I get a little aggressive.
Yeah.
Do you do that a lot?
Because I have camera gear and bring self-film everything, probably not as much as I used to. It's bad if I do it one time and I see deer out in the field, then it's like, oh yeah, this is gonna happen every time. So like when I go with a shotgun, I'll go with the shotgun later in the season, and it's like my uncle kind of poo-poos it, or he just laughs because he knows, yeah, I'm gonna sit here, but then he knows I'm not gonna end up there.
Yeah.
So
yeah, it's funny you say that because I've never been the guy to do much of that.
Yeah.
I feel like my experience has taught me that my best place to be is to just stay out of sight, out of mind.
Yeah.
If I can be quiet and be unseen in a tree stand. But sometimes you're leaving a lot to chance.
Yeah.
Because you got to get a deer to walk in within under a certain number,
Mm-hmm.
But actually, 2 falls ago, I did get really aggressive. I had a buck that, just to what you're describing, I watched him bump a doe from as far as I could see him along this river, then along this big fence line, then along this tree line, and then he took her up into this bedding area.
Yeah.
And I'm ranging it. There was a little 2-track that came down. I knew the 2-track was 175 yards, and I could see where he went in at like 225. I'm like, well, heck, that's like 75 yards. Like I can get to that.
Yeah.
So finally, and she would come out into the field. That buck would come down there, and he'd push her back up in there.
Yeah.
And multiple times, other bucks came over and checked it, and then ran out of there. So half hour before dark, I'm like, you know what? Forget it. Let's do this. I had the wind right. It was just so happened that it was an east wind of all things.
Yeah.
So I got down and I just made a beeline across that field. I got to the 2-track. I'm like, okay, I'm within 75 yards. So I just counted my steps. Start counting. Okay, there's 10 steps. There's 20 steps.
Yeah.
And I got to where they were, and I grunted. And dude, he grunted right back. He was in there in this big thicket. I'm just standing there on the edge of this field, looking up at this big bedding area, these hardwoods, and he didn't come out.
Yeah.
But usually I don't do that because I feel like around here especially, and it's like that along the Midwest, the ground is just so loud.
Yeah.
It's so hard to sneak around quietly.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Right.
And so, but yeah, some days it does work, and sometimes it can work, and that's awesome. My buddy Chris Davidson has, killed deer that way.
Oh yeah.
Shooting them on the ground.
Yeah, and I usually don't either. I do a lot of sit and wait, but it's like I run out of camera light on the tree, and it's like I don't see anything. I'll get down. A lot of it, like I said, we sit, we wait, sit till dark, get out, hope not to bump anything. But you do that so many times, and then it doesn't pan out, or the neighbors or somebody. And I don't have a problem with the neighbors killing deer, but it's like if you just scared about bumping the deer to the neighbors because you're going to get aggressive, it's like, well, if you're not aggressive, they may just walk there and die anyway. So
exactly,
why not, if you see them, try to put a move on? And plus, that's like reaping turkeys. It's fun. It gets your heart racing the whole time. Like, could this actually work?
Yeah.
Because let's be honest, I don't think it's ever gonna work. But if I could get one to within 20 yards, 40 yards, and shoot it, like, that would be pretty sweet. Even if it's a small deer, it's like, hey, I shot this on the ground.
Yeah.
Like, that's one of my debates was tonight, sitting in that stand where I was saying, where should I sit so I can get down? Part of it was like, if I knew which side of the farm he was coming out on, I may sit in a ghillie suit in the CRP because I know he wants to, or the does want to get into that bean field. So if I could play it right, that is an option I've run through my head as well.
Mm-hmm.
Right.
Well, and I think the moral of the story from my perspective is it's getting to be that time of year where you better start getting ready to roll the dice.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, because whether it's you're in Minnesota and the gun seasons are coming in, or you get to Wisconsin in the middle of the month, the gun seasons are coming in, or it's just the fact that, you know, it's just moving through the rut.
Yeah.
You know, and you know, that's the gamble that you have to decide.
Yeah, exactly.
You know, and that's where I feel like too, as the month kind of goes along, I feel like I start to get a bit more aggressive and just a bit more, again, like I said earlier, I still think about the wind, but I start thinking more about the deer and trying to hunt the deer than hunt the wind.
Right.
And trying to really go, okay, what do I got to do?
Yeah, exactly.
There's a time to be passive and there's a time to be aggressive, and we're getting way more the scale tipping towards the aggressive.
Yeah, without a doubt.
You know, so. Well, I can't we get on with the podcast without mentioning that I'm a little hurt that you wore a Minnesota sweatshirt. Seriously.
You know what? I watched the podcast where Nick had a bathroom break in the woods.
Yes,
and I saw him wearing the Iowa.
How
Iowa
he denounced
thing.
his Wisconsin fanship. Yep.
So when he popped on today with the Iowa sweatshirt, I figure I better go get my Gopher one.
Golly.
Hey, it doesn't happen very often, so when it does, I have to relish in it a little bit.
You know what's funny about that is I was telling Nick this the other day. When I was a kid, we used to go up to Minneapolis to the Metrodome every other year and watch Iowa, Minnesota. It was always the last game of the season. And we would go up there and watch, not at Kinnick Stadium, but we'd watch it at the Metrodome.
The Dome.
The Dome. And I felt this, and I'm going to say this, I said this earlier, I felt this way since I was a kid, I feel like this way now. I don't have any problem with Minnesota fans, only except when they're playing the Hawkeyes, but there's just something about that burgundy. I just can't get into it. Like, it's like even like the Cleveland Cavaliers, it's just, I just don't like it. It doesn't go with anything. It's like, how can you wear that? I just don't know.
It goes with everything.
Oh,
you can wear it with khaki, tan. You can wear it with anything.
Unbelievable! I just can't get into it. There's just something about.
You can wear it to a wedding.
What? I don't think University of Minnesota likes it either. Because if you look at the football team, they don't hardly ever wear the burgundy. They got all these crazy helmets. They're like the new Oregon.
That's recruiting. All these kids want to be flashy and whatever.
They don't like the burgundy. What you're saying is the recruiting kids don't like the burgundy. Nobody likes the burgundy. It's like Iowa State. Nobody likes red and yellow. Look at theirs now. Half the time they got on black jerseys now. It makes them look like they're the Iowa Hawkeyes. Come on. You are wearing a black hat though, so I'm going to count you as a third Iowa Hawkeye fan. Welcome to the club.
No, don't.
Hey, listen.
No. Who hates Iowa?
Huh?
We hate Iowa. Except for whitetails.
Hey, that's another question I've never asked you. How many points do you have? Are you putting in for Iowa?
No, I don't have anywhere to hunt in Iowa.
Listen to this guy.
It sounds like you guys got $41 on public land, so I should probably start putting points in.
Nowhere near here. We're driving 4 hours.
That's a long drive
to get to that spot.
That's a long drive. You have to get a hotel.
Well,
I'll tell you what, though. I seriously am surprised that you're not putting in. That seems kind of silly. Why would you put in?
Because I can hardly kill deer in my own state.
Could you imagine how much of a nutcase he would be if he had an Iowa tag? His wife would be.
$500.
Yeah,
I can hardly kill deer for $32.
Yeah, he wouldn't have. His wife would be so mad because the yard wouldn't be raked. They wouldn't have any of the honey to-do list. So just be long as all get out.
30 cameras in Iowa, 30 in Minnesota.
Oh my gosh. He'd have so many cutty-back link systems going, he wouldn't even know what to do. He wouldn't be able to keep track of it all. It only costs him like $4.27 because the cutty-back system is like the cheapest way to do it. But he'd have 100 cameras out there.
Well, yeah. Give you that. It's like drugs, right? Don't they say you get the first nip for free and then the rest is costs you?
Yeah. I've always heard the nibble till you know. You know what I mean? But but I think with cameras it would just get a little out of hand.
Yeah. Speaking of which, I should go move some around here today at some point. So
see, that's what I actually did that on my lunch break the other day. I did like a kamikaze trip out there. Drove 100 miles an hour. I'm like, I moved a couple cameras around and just got them on a couple. I'm like, I'm just gonna walk down in here and find a scrape. And so sure enough, it's like, boop, there's one. You know,
I've got them all on scrapes, but I want to move a couple to water just so I can see what's hanging around.
That's cool. That's nice. Yeah. Yeah, that's not a bad idea.
Yeah.
Well, Zach, I think we call it quits, dude. I really appreciate you coming on short notice. Like I said, I didn't know if we'd be able to catch you out of the woods or not, but it worked out really great. And like I said, man, I really wish you good luck the rest of the week. I'm excited to hear how it goes. And thanks for coming to give us an update on how things are going up there.
Yeah, you too, Nick. Send me those pictures and those numbers, and I'll start putting points in, and we could do something next year.
Perfect.
6 years from now, you'll be
Yeah, no. Hopefully, when this airs, I can send you a picture of I killed this deer. But
Yeah.
Yeah, absolutely. In the meantime, we could trail pick will work. We'd love to see a trail pick.
Yeah, well, I'll send a couple of those. Yeah.
Yep.
Yeah.
We'll take whatever.
All right, well, let's call it quits.
That's
Like I
the only
said,
time I see him is on the trail.
yeah. It's either you see him on the trail cam, but you're hoping to see him on the hoof.
Yep.
And then you're gonna go like this, and then he's gonna go. It's not working. And then Zach's gonna go. And then he's gonna go. Smack him.
Yeah. It's more like you're gonna hit the grunt call, and he's gonna be like, "Oh, idiot in the tree, I'm gone."
Hey, you can always use the bald eagle call.
No, don't.
He says it's too loud. I must just be deaf because it sounds totally normal to me.
Yeah, me too.
All right, well that's it. Let's call it quits.
Yep.
Another podcast to book.
Yeah, we better end this.
I'm Cole Tanner.
I'm Nick Simon.
We had Zach Rinn. Thanks,
I'm
Zach.
Zach
I really
Rinn.
appreciate it. Good luck out
See you
there.
guys. Row the boat. Go Gophers.
American Eats Farmers, go Iowa.